Hello everyone. Today we're going to be working on a Yanagi. This one was sent to me. It's like I guess what you call a shop knife. It's kind of used for everything at the factory. Um, it was poorly ground back here, and the steel dips low back here, and this section is a lot higher throughout here. So as you sharpen this, and you go all the way back to here, but you only hit up here and maybe down at the edge a little bit, and this whole area is untouched. So I'll show how to come into contact with that area. We got a little wave in the shinogi line up here. I'm going to correct that with this stone here, and I'm going to demonstrate techniques for sharpening a Yanagi blade. Starting with a 120 grit Nubatama stone. Just for comparison, this is especially for Mr. Ken Schwartz. This stone wears incredibly fast, so make sure you can see that really well. This is a new stone. It's got very minimal use, and this stone, which was this height about 2 or 3 months ago, about 2 months ago, has worn that much from probably about 30 to 40 sharpenings, kitchen knives, and so on. But enough about that, we get to sharpening this blade here. When you sharpen a knife like this, you have to sharpen it in several parts, because you have a soft metal here and a hard metal down here at the edge that's exposed. And this is kind of hollow ground through the back right here, so there's a special way to sharpen that too, which doesn't come till the very end. For this though, it's for someone that has some sharpening experience, it kind of flows pretty naturally. When you put it on the stone, you either want to place your fingers back here to get back in the back, or the softer metal back there, or you want to place them up here, put your pressure up here to get on the harder metal. And it'll actually differentiate between the hard and soft metal as you're grinding, even though it feels like you're on the same bevel. So we're going to get started here. I'm left-handed, so this might be helpful for the very few left-handers out there, but it'll also show techniques if you have to do it this way. For getting in the back here, I'm actually going to tilt the knife down like this, just very slightly. You're not going to really see it. That's how I'm going to be able to reach into this lowered section of the bevel. Now with the shinogi line back here, I got to be very careful. As you can see, this stone generates mud very quickly, and that's the reason it's worn so fast. But it does a wonderful job at revealing the hard and soft metal, and even at 120 grit, it'll fully bring out all the grain of the steel, with a good mud working, of course. Now you see me turning the knife like that, and that's because a lot of people think this is a flat grind right here, and it's not. It's a convex grind because of the way it's sharpened on the soft metal and the hard metal, and then you kind of blend it together as you go through. But as you get up towards the tip here, you can't keep going like this because the surface area you're working with is so small. It wants to rock really bad like that, and you'll get a lot of wearing up in this section, not through here. You could just damage your shinogi line and the whole curvature of it. So technique is important when sharpening a knife like this. And so is the type of stones. This stone is almost perfect for this type of sharpening. Any sort of regular sharpening of kitchen knives, like I used it for first, or you know, just regular knives in general. It's the wrong stone. It's not a soft stone, but it wears very quickly. This is the type of knife and type of grinds and steels it's made for, and it should be used exclusively for. Although the stone cuts real fast, if you're just looking for general sharpening, I'd recommend the 180 grit over this one, or the 150 if it's ever in stock. I don't know if you can see that all too well. But the soft metal on top's got a nice gray color, and if you could see real close, you could see the wavy pattern of the steel that almost has a Damascus-like look. Alright, so we're going to get back to working on that shinogi line. There's a real bad dip in it right here, and I'm not exactly sure why. I almost think it's a whole dip in the blade right there is what it kind of feels like. So I'm almost thinking at this point I'm not gonna be able to fix the dip in the shinogi line because the blade was ground wrong and not flattened properly before it was made. Huh. That's probably why it was just a shop knife. A beater, as most would call it. I'll get out of caliper in between videos and measure it, but I'm pretty sure there's a dip in the body of the blade right here. So I'm not going to bother grinding anymore on that shinogi line because it's just not going to come out. clean up what I started here, and we'll move on. Now as you get to the tip right here, there's a little curve into the belly, and then there's almost a flat section in the tip. So as you get up near the tip right here, you want to start raising up the handle of the knife just so slightly like this. So that you're just up on the tip like this. Yeah, I'm almost positive at this point. So I got a nice straight line down the blade, and then right here it dips down towards the bevel, and then it comes back up and continues straight that way. So it's all ground in at that point. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Okay, this is the 400 grit Nubatama stone. We're still lined up here. And same methods, placing pressure up here to get the front bevel, placing pressure on the back here to get the soft bevel, or the soft metal in the back of the bevel, and up against the shinogi line where we want to try and keep that nice and straight. We're not working on the back yet. You do that with your finest final grit stone. You don't want to disrupt too much of the back here because this is hollow ground, and eventually it'll have to be reground with enough sharpenings and enough use. most have probably noticed, my videos are not short. I don't cut much out of them, or I don't cut anything out of them actually. Editing in the future, but not yet. I don't really plan to ever cut too much out of the sharpening. I'm going to show exactly what it takes to sharpen a knife, not skip out, because sometimes it's often led to believe that sharpening a knife takes only minutes, when actually to do it the right way, especially on a blade like this. It's damaged or needs repair work. You should at least take a little bit of time to repair it properly and get it cutting functioning properly. A little more work with this and we'll be able to move on. As you can see now, I'm working on the hard metal, not getting much buildup of anything. Getting a little swarf on the surface, a little bit of slurry. And then as we move to the back bevel, I have to add some water. See, there's a lot of mud developing on the stone, up on the blade here. It reacts different with the stone than the harder metal does. Right now I'm changing my technique a little bit and I'm using a lot lighter pressure than I just was. I'm working the mud of the stone, kind of floating the blade over the mud on the surface. What this is doing is really helping to reduce the scratch pattern, and it helps bring out a lot of the features of the steel. Lighter pressure on a stone also helps to blend scratch patterns, especially on a large bevel like this. When you lighten up the pressure you're using to sharpen, especially on a stone that produces a mud such as this one, it allows it to kind of act like a sharpening surface with a soft backing, kind of like most convex sharpening is done. And instead of getting a choppy grind pattern in there, you can get a real nice smooth grind pattern even though you're hitting it at a bunch of different angles. Well, that was a close call. Oof. Okay. Go ahead and stop that video right there and move on to part 2.